Hi everyone, I'm going to tell you how to uninstall a previous version of PMDA to make sure that you get the new variables and how to reinstall it cleanly. So, first thing I would suggest is to get rid of the previous versions of PMDA as the XML file did change a lot, right? So, you head to the community apps inside Unraid, you go to previous apps, right? And from here, you select PMDA, you can find it, you click that little checkbox, and you click on delete. Once you're ready, you just click on delete and it will delete the current version of PMDA. That's step one. You go back to the community apps main page and you just type PMDA, right? So PMDA is now displaying right here and we can click on install. The next step will be to identify the different paths, the different folders that composes your Plex library, okay? So we are going to our music library, we click the three dots, we go to manage library, and here we go click on edit. If I click on add folders, I can see that my library, my personal library, is composed of three different folders. Copy paste each of these folders somewhere or just notes them, right? So you can use them when you will configure the PMDA container variables. Now, you go back to this community applications and you click install to start installing PMDA. So this is a little bit strange on my end because I'm running two different versions for my tests, right? So it won't be PMDA, but for me it's PMDA Web UI, but for you it will be PMDA, and that's totally normal. So let's have a look at the different options we have here, the different variables. So you keep this repository at latest, it's fine. So in Plex host URL, you need to put, of course, the URL of your Plex server and the port of your Plex server. You have to grab your Plex token, and I believe that you know how to do that. So you just need to edit a file somewhere in your music library, and then in the URL at the very end, you will find your token and you paste it here. Still in that XML view, you can find the music section ID. So it's the section which is a number which will display when you are actually viewing the XML, the detail of your Plex music library. Default mode, there are two modes. Serve will launch the web UI of PMDA. If you select and change it to CLI here, command line interface, right? The web front end won't be started, and PMDA will start in command line interface mode. But for this tutorial, we will keep it on serve. You don't need to change the OpenAI model. I picked GPT 4.1 Nano, and the reason is that it's the cheapest and still capable model that will quickly and efficiently and cheaply analyze the different dupes that we will detect. In the OpenAI API key field, of course, you need to paste an API key that you generated on the OpenAI API web page. So I invite you to Google if you don't know how to create an API token, right? An API key, sorry. Okay, here is the place you will paste that information. PMDA is capable, and this is more for advanced users or people who uses PMDA in command line interface mode. You can actually add a Discord webhook URL, and PMDA will send you each dupe it finds in a Discord channel, right? And will also send you the summary at the end of the scan, right? This is an optional field. If you leave it empty, no problem, PMDA will run and won't send you any notifications. The config directory, please don't change the container path, right? Keep it config here. You just need to point it to the place you want on your host to store your database, config files, and all the rest. So you select the place and you put it here. The PlexDB folder, you just need to copy paste the exact place where your Plex database is located, right? You copy paste that value here. As you did see, I have 3 different music folders. If you have only one music folder, maybe you won't need music folder 2 and music folder 3. These paths are optional, as you can see here, right? So in my case, I'm using 3 different folders. Here, you need to paste the names, actually, the paths where these folders are located on your host. And you need here in the container path to copy exactly the path that you did take notes of in your Plex library, as we checked during the first step of this tutorial. So the hosts path and the container path, and you can name it whatever you want. You need to do this for each of your music folders that appeared in step 1, and to map each host folders to the right folder inside the PMDA container. It is super important that you use exactly the same folder names and structure in container path here as the container path that you took note of inside your Plex library. Okay? Then you have the dupe outputs. So don't change the /dupes here and just select the place you want the dupes to be moved on your host. The web UI port can stay 5005, but you can decide to change it, right? No problem. There are a couple extra settings. Only 2 of them should be changed. Info is the debug log, the log level, right? If you put debug, you will get way more logs, but the default is info and should be enough for most people. And the scan threads, right? Scan threads means the number of CPU threads that you want to dedicate to PMDA. I have quite a beefy CPU with 32 cores, which means that I'm using 32. But if you have like a CPU with only 8 cores, let's say, you could then change it and put 8 here, right? The more cores you dedicate to PMDA, the faster the scan will go. So I'm not gonna lose any time, and I will just click on apply here of PMDA. So what do we see here? We do see that everything was configured in the environment variables, right? And PMDA is now smart enough to configure the path map between the PMDA container and the Plex container all alone. So you see that music match, music unmatched, and music compilations was detected and automatically generated. So you don't need to take care about this anymore. There is also a self-diagnostic, right? So it's a self-test where we check if the Plex DB is reachable, and if the different paths that we actually mapped are containing albums. So everything here seems to be cool. We can see that the different paths are writable because they need to be, and we are also displaying the contents of the AI prompt that we will be using, right? So you can always change the AI prompt, if you want, but the default one should be fine for most of the people. And we also see that the web server is started. So what we can do now is that we can open PMDA, the URL, and we see that PMDA is running, no problem. If I click on new scan here, okay, well, we can see that I am starting a new scan, so everything seems to be working fine. It will take a couple of seconds before the first albums gets processed, right? Okay, here we go. And results will appear as soon as dupes are detected in the list. So that's it.